So I'm Elizabeth Ward and I'm from Brisbane Boys College.
So Strat Kasanovic from the new school, Brisbane South State Secondary College. I'm the head of Humanities and Languages.
So my name's Julie Chisholm. I'm a Deputy Principal at Mackay West State School.
I believe that it's really important because that's actually the crux of what we do. So the content might be the vehicle, but it's really the thinking and the processes and the purpose of what we're doing that I suppose a PD like this really sharpens that focus.
Because I think it's so overlooked in our curriculum at the moment, and we owe it to ourselves and our students to really hone in on it and really refine our practice.
Yeah, teacher expertise, and you alluded to it as well. Like, there's no package that you can give somebody or download. Take the blue pill or whatever. Teacher expertise really is about, I suppose, it's teacher focus, which is what I like. As somebody who's changed schools a little bit, it's not something which necessarily impacts the school as much as it impacts the teacher, and the teacher takes that expertise with them where they go. So that makes there's a value there as a teacher. But I think in terms of when I'm looking at PD and the value of PD, something which improves teacher practice, particularly around pedagogy, as around another important focus, or maybe not so important focus. That to me is the key of a professional development.
I can see in so many of the activities that you talked about over the last 2 days how there is an opportunity in so many of those learning activities for every child to be engaged. There's an entry point for every kid into so many of these activities. I can see that there's an opportunity for your high-performing kids to really fly. I can see that there is natural differentiation in so much of what you spoke about today.
A huge takeaway for me is that I want to go back and inspire my colleagues to actually have a look at metacognition and how we can use it in our class effectively.
I think how our unit plans currently look, I really want those cognitive verbs in the context of the units, jumping out and slapping you in the face off that page now. And the values of inquiry. So that's the next piece of work for me, I think.
In my own practice, I think authentic questioning of my students is going to be something that I'm going to go back and be really reflective about.
Almost an overwhelming amount. I think you have to be prepared to leave here with an understanding that you can't do it all at once, that it is a slow burn. And I suppose my own experience in and around that, where I think my first dabble in this area was 5 years ago, and it has taken quite some time. But so there's lots you can take away from it, and I think probably the things that depending on what stage of your teaching career you might be at, I think for somebody who might be relatively new to the profession, it might give them confidence in their own practice, that they can branch out a little bit. They don't need to be necessarily on the same page or on the same slide as the person 2 doors down, and that's okay. And so I think for me, what I really like about this workshop is that it gives confidence back into our profession. I think sometimes we've been a little bit de-skilled by some of the resources that have been handed out, and so pedagogically I think it gives a lot of teachers confidence. And then for a few old hacks like me, it's a reminder of what the core business really is, and that's why it's always really refreshing to come back and sharpen up again.
Brilliant. Thank you, Strat.
Oh mate,
that's awesome, mate. That's brilliant.
Every word genuine, Pete.
Love it. I know it, mate. Tell me.
So I was really inspired by the course, and I just couldn't have thought of a better one to do, and it's really linked together all of the other courses I've actually done this year with inquiry, and I just can't recommend it enough.
I would absolutely recommend this course. I'd be very keen for more of the staff at Mackay West to do the course.
Oh, absolutely. And I've always been pushing people to come along to workshops like these, simply because I think when I reflect on it, it's really about the intentionality that if you've been teaching for a couple of decades, like some of us have, there's some activities that you do that are successful, but you've kind of forgotten why. and you just tend to pull them out because you know they work. But I think days like we've had these last 2 days, you understand the original purpose behind it, and it just, like I said, it just sharpens that focus again, and it makes it much more about, rather than teaching through rote or teaching through experience or teaching through this one works, but I think a more, I suppose, a deeper understanding of why you did it in the first place and what you're intending to do. So it was really nice to have that reminder in and around, why we are, teaching for thinking.